Hey, John Mayfield, thank you so much for joining. Appreciate you coming back. This is part two of the live stream for Missouri Rules and Regulations, Chapter 8, over business conduct. Okay, so that's what we're going to go over right now. Just only broadcasting this on YouTube. If you have any questions, please be sure and submit those. I'd be more than happy to answer those. But let's get right into part two of our portion over the rules and regulations business conduct. So earlier this morning I went over part one of this whole rules and regulations, and kind of bring you up here. We were actually stopping on advertising up here in the top corner. So again, we are on part two. I just want to kind of double check my mic and everything else that's going on. And if you have questions, please feel free to type those in the chat and we will get to those. So this morning I kind of finished on advertising. Yes, you will see questions over advertising. So make sure that you study this portion very, very good. So let's talk about advertising and kind of go through some of the points here. First of all, as you can see, a licensee, now that's anyone with a license, whether they are a salesperson or a broker, shall not advertise to sell, buy, exchange, rent, lease, or manage property in any manner indicating that the offer to sell, buy, exchange, rent, lease, or manage the property is being made by a private party not engaged in the real estate business. Okay? What do we mean by that? Well, it just means that there can be what we call no blind ads. In other words, the real estate or the consumer needs to know that they are dealing with an agent, a licensee, I should probably would be better, but an agent or slash licensee. And so there can be what we call, I like to refer to this as no unfair. I was doing really well there. I think competition. I think I have to pull my pencil up in this program. Otherwise, it's wanting to add a big long line each and every time. So no unfair competition. So anytime you're advertising, you cannot advertise to sell, rent, exchange in any manner that is being made by a private party not engaged in the real estate business. If any part of the offering, negotiation, or completion of a real estate transaction is to be handled by, through, or under the direct supervision of a licensee, directly or indirectly, the licensee shall not advertise or represent to the public in any manner that the property is for sale or lease by the owner. Now let's read that again because that gets complicated. If any part of the offering, negotiation, or completion of a real estate transaction is to be handled by, through, or under the direction or supervision of a licensee, directly or indirectly, the licensee shall what? Shall not advertise or represent to the public in any manner that the property is for sale or lease by the owner. Okay? Now, I'm going to kind of tie all of this together, but let's go over B. If a licensee advertises to sell, buy, exchange, rent, lease, or manage property in which the licensee has an interest, and if the property is not listed by a brokerage entity, the advertisement shall contain in a prominent fashion one of the following: for sale by owner broker, by owner salesperson, or owner agent. Okay? So I'm going to kind of try to bring this together for you here. Let's just say that you own, and again, they're talking about leasing, exchanging, renting, managing, but I'm just using the terms own a property and you want to sell it on your own. What do you have to do? Good question, isn't it? What is required for you to do in the advertisement? Well, there's actually two things you need to think about in order to comply with the rules and regulations. Two things to consider. Number one, have you listed it with a real estate company or broker? That's the first thing. Yes or no? Is it listed? So let's go back to this and take a look. And I'm just going to highlight this in green so that we know, understand what's happening here. It says right here, whenever the licensee advertises to sell, buy, exchange, rent, lease, or manage property in which the licensee has an interest. Doesn't matter how much interest, just an interest. And if the property is not listed by a brokerage entity, key words there, not listed. Okay? The advertisement shall contain in prominent fashion one of the following: by owner broker, by owner salesperson, or by owner agent. Naturally, if you are a salesperson, you would put for sale by owner salesperson. If I was selling a property that I owned, I would put for sale by owner broker. Or I could use owner agent, and you could use owner agent, but it has to be on all advertisements. Facebook, on your sign, would have to be that way in any print advertising you do, radio advertisement. The public needs to know they're dealing with a real estate agent or a licensee. I should go back to that. And so that's the question you have to ask yourself. First, am I going to list my property with a brokerage? Now, my policy was always, if you're going to sell property and you work for Mayfield Real Estate, it needs to be listed with Mayfield Real Estate. And in fact, I've always felt that way. How can you ask someone else to list their property, their real estate with you and pay you a commission, and you can't do the same thing, okay? It just doesn't make sense. So if you're going to ask people to list their property with you, by golly, you ought to list your own property with the company as well. That's just my feeling, okay? So So if you list it with the company, if it's listed with the company, then this does not apply, right? Doesn't apply because you listed with the company. And when you read this little piece here, it says what? I can go back over it again. It says if the property is not listed by a brokerage entity. Now again, we're talking about selling, buying, exchanging, renting, leasing. So if you were running an ad to buy property, same thing has to apply unless you have a buyer's agency agreement with your firm and you're advertising in such fashion. I don't know if they will throw a question like that at you or not, but they could, you never know. So backing up here, when we look at advertising, disclosure, you can't advertise to sell, buy, exchange, rent, lease, manage property in any manner indicating that the offer to sell, buy, exchange, rent, lease, or manage the property is being made by a private party not engaged in the real estate business. You have to let the public know we're selling property and this is listed with our firm. If any part of the offering, negotiation, or completion of a real estate transaction is to be handled by, through, or under the direct supervision of a licensee, directly or indirectly, the licensee shall not advertise or represent to the public in any manner that the property is for sale or lease by the owner. No blind ads. People need to know they're dealing with a real estate company. And number two, when you have an interest in property and it's not listed, you got to make sure the public knows that. Now, if it's listed with the company, as I just mentioned, this does not apply. You still have to disclose on the sales contract that you have an interest in the property and you are a licensee, but you don't have to put on your sign, owner agent. You do not have to put in the written advertisement in the paper or Facebook, owner agent. Why? Because it's listed with the brokerage. This only applies if it's not listed. Now, C says here, nothing in this section shall be construed to eliminate the disclosure requirements found elsewhere. And that's what I just mentioned to you. I did mention to you that you need to be sure and disclose on the contracts, the agency agreements, and any other types of documents that you're dealing with, that you have an interest in the property and you are a licensed agent, okay? So the only thing you don't have to disclose is if you have an interest in a property that you're buying or selling and you're advertising that to the public, then you don't have to put on any signs or advertisements, owner agent, owner broker. The only time you have to put that on the signs is when, make sure you write that down and note that, is when you do not have it listed with a brokerage entity. Okay. Any questions, feel free to type those in because we can add those to the box, so I'll be glad to do that. Now, let's go into number 2. Right here, and I'm going to go back to my yellow highlighter and we will take a look at that. No real estate advertisement by a licensee shall only have a post office box number, telephone number, or street address. And this is very important. Every advertisement of real estate by a licensee shall contain the broker's regular business name or the name under which the broker or the broker's firm is licensed, and shall indicate that the party advertising is a real estate broker and not a private party. So they will ask questions from everything we're covering here. So what has to be included in every ad? The broker or firm name. Must be in all. And so that's the problem, is if I draw too far or long with that little piece. Number 3, every advertisement of real estate by a licensee where the licensee has no interest in the real estate shall be made under the direct supervision and the name of the broker who holds the licensee's license. So salespersons, you have to run all ads under your broker's name. If the licensee's name or telephone number or both is used in any advertisement, the advertisement also shall include the name and telephone number of the broker's firm who holds the licensee's license. That, my friends, will be a test question on the state portion of the Missouri exam. Trust me. And again, it's just telling you every advertisement, radio, billboards, whatever, where a licensee has no interest in the real estate shall be made under the direct supervision and name of the broker who holds the licensee's license. You can put your telephone name and telephone number in the ad, or both, that's okay. But the ad also must include the name and telephone number of the broker with the firm is associated. So, a lot of times you'll see agents who want to put their signs up and they want to put their cell phone number, 431 3, whatever the phone number is, really big and bold. Call, and the writer on the sign says, call John. You've got to have the broker phone number in here somewhere. So down here, they might slip in the broker number. Okay? And of course, they could have their name on there, but they need to have the broker name down here. Now, you can't have it so small that, it needs to be legible. And it needs to be a good size. If I was your broker, I would, want that to be a decent size. But you could have your photo and your name and call you on the sign. And this could all be big and bold, which goes right to your mobile phone. But remember, according to this right up here, that the broker's name and phone number needs to be in the ad as well. Number 4, no licensee shall advertise to buy, sell, rent, lease, manage, or exchange property in any manner that indicates directly or indirectly any unlawful discrimination against a group because of race, color, religion, national origin, ancestry, sex, handicap, or familial status. Missouri actually adds ancestry as a protected class, but remember everything else we've talked about in our fair housing discussions regarding discrimination. And this is a no-brainer. You can't advertise and discriminate, but this could be an exam question on the Missouri side, because Missouri does include ancestry with the protected classes. And number 5, no licensee or group of licensees, shall advertise as a real estate company in any manner or use any name, team name, or other team that could be construed by members of the public as advertising as a real estate partnership, company, brokerage, or business entity. Now, this is new here. And we'll continue on as I move this over. As I try to move this over. Holds a valid, appropriate entity license. Now, this is what they're talking about here. Such terms include use of the words realty, brokerage company, or other terms that may be construed as a real estate entity. This is new. It's been around for a little bit now, and you could see questions over this because it's been a problem with the commission. And so what the problem is, let's see if I come over, is you might have someone that has John Mayfield Realty Team. Can I do that? No. Why? Because that's one of the words, realty. Could I have John Mayfield, the John Mayfield Company Team? No. Cannot do that. Even though I've got the word team in there, could I have the John Mayfield Real Estate Team? Evidently, that is permissible because real estate, notice they use realty, brokerage, company, or other terms that may be construed as a real estate entity. I have John Mayfield Real Estate Team registered, and there was no problem with that. If they ask you this on the exam, the John Mayfield Real Estate Team, I'm going to say I think it's okay. If you see a question and that's the only choice, and they want to know if that's legal or not, I would say yes, and I would also mark that and write an explanation that you maybe, you want to make sure that this question is correct because from your learning, what you learned in the class, other terms may be construed as real estate entity. But I have this registered and the commission said it was okay. So they do not mention real estate in this paragraph. But they do mention realty, they do mention brokerage, and they do mention the word company, but there could be other terms you could see. So just remember, teams have to be real cautious that they cannot make the public think they're dealing with a real estate office. There are a lot of just salespersons who have big teams out there, and they want to make the public think they are their own entity, and you can't do that, okay? So be real cautious about that. And then finally, the context of the advertisement or solicitation may be considered by the commission when determining whether a licensee has committed a violation. When the licensee, let's go down here and we'll do that. When the licensees or group of licensees name includes or incorporates the name of the broker, brokerage with whom the licensee or group of licensees is currently affiliated, the use of the words realty, brokerage, or company in the licensee's fictitious name shall not constitute a violation of subsection 5A. When these words are used to refer or to identify the licensee's affiliation with the broker or brokerage. So in other words, you could have a fictitious name that has John Mayfield Realty Team, that's not going to constitute a violation if you have that registered as a fictitious name, but in your ads, you could not use that, okay? You would want to use John Mayfield Team or, the John Mayfield Real Estate Team would be okay. But you definitely need to make sure it's registered with the Secretary of State and also registered with the Commission. By the way, anytime you see a question about registering, if you have to register something with the Secretary of State, you also have to register it with the Commission. Give them a copy. Now, moving on, a licensee or group of licensees that are not entities under Chapter 339 who want to advertise with the licensee's or group's fictitious name should be filed with the Secretary of State or registered fictitious name that is owned by the brokerage in which the licensee or group of licensees are affiliated. So that's what I just talked about. You need, if you're going to be, and you could do this even as yourself, you could have a team even though you're one person. The John Mayfield brokerage under Mayfield Real Estate Inc. You can't do that, right? But you could have the John Mayfield Real Estate Team and be one person. Well, if you are not entities under Chapter 339, in other words, the John Mayfield Real Estate Team is not an entity under the license law. It's just registered as a team. An entity would be a firm, right? Some type of a brokerage or a firm. But I want to advertise with the licensee's or group's fictitious name. I need to file that name with the Secretary of State, that it's owned by the broker or brokerage in which the licensee or group of licensees are affiliated. So if I had people who wanted to start a team underneath me, they need to do what? First of all, I need to register that fictitious name, and it would be owned by Mayfield Real Estate Inc. And then that needs to be filed with the Secretary of State and with the Real Estate Commission. And I have to follow all of the other laws under advertising. It gets a little complicated. I have some people that I know who are, and gosh, that's not working real well, so I'm not going to do that particular one. I'll come over here, and hopefully my audio is still going good. I know some people who have a team, and they were with another firm, okay? They had to get that fictitious name back from the firm. In other words, the firm released it back to the team, and then they were able to use that. And I need to do some checking, and I will do that, to find out exactly who needs to own that team name. So that's a good question, and I will find out for you on that to make sure that we get the right information there. That's pretty much on advertising. You could see something right here under that paragraph where it talks about teams cannot use realty brokerage company or anything that could be construed as a real estate entity. And the other thing you could see under this section of advertising, I'm going to go back down here. I want to go way over here where we were, is you definitely will see some things right here about no blind ads, no unfair competition. If you don't list a property that you have any kind of interest in, doesn't have a percentage amount, any interest, and you don't list it and you run it for sale, don't forget, by owner broker, by owner salesperson, or owner agent. And then understand you can't discriminate. We know that. It's pretty self-explanatory. And the broker's name and phone number has to be in all the ads. You're going to see some questions over that. And then finally, remember that we talked about no unfair competition. I think you've got all of that. No blind ads. Oh, and just to remind you there, we've talked about that before, but it will be in other spots. You've still got to disclose on the contract when you have an interest in a property that you are selling. Okay, finally, I just want to cover two more items here under guaranteed sales. You could see some questions over guaranteed sales, and really not too challenging here. What you need to know is you need to disclose everything, okay? As you can see here, a guaranteed sales plan includes, but is not limited to, any plan in which a seller's real estate is guaranteed to be sold, or any plan where a licensee or anyone affiliated with a licensee will purchase the seller's real estate if it's not purchased by a third party within a specific period of time. If you're going to do that, you need to disclose eligible costs, conditions may apply, advising the seller to inquire the licensee to the terms of the guaranteed sales agreement. It needs to be 1/4 larger than the largest print in the ad. That, I have heard, has been on the exam. If it's a radio or television, you need to make sure that it includes a conspicuous statement advising any conditions and limitations that apply. All guaranteed sales must be in writing and contain all the conditions, terms. Again, I think this is going to be pretty self-explanatory for you. And you need to tell them what the approximate net proceeds would be that they could receive. So just remember the 1/4 rule right there that we talked about. And also just remember you got to disclose everything, and it needs to be conspicuous and can't hide anything from the seller. The last part on advertising that I want to talk about here is with franchises, and they have had some questions regarding this. If a broker maintains any business relationship or affiliation, whether by franchise agreement, contract, or otherwise, with any organization and uses the name, trade name, or insignia of the other organization in any manner, the broker shall furnish to the commission a copy of the franchise agreement. Okay, got to do that. Could be a question. Or contract and such other related information as the commission may require. So that could be a question, that you have to provide a franchise agreement or contract or other related information that the commission may require. Number two, if the franchise agreement or contract under which a broker is operating provides that the franchisor or owner of the trade name or insignia has no legal liability for the actions of the broker using the trade name or insignia, the broker shall include in, what was that? Oh, let me include all listing agreements, contracts for sale, and closing statements, a clear and explicit statement to the effect and type reasonably calculated to gain the attention of the reader of the document. So you have to put in all documents that you are independently owned and operated, and the franchisor has no legal liability of your actions for using their trade name. They love to throw that question on the exam, so don't forget that. So I had a franchise for many, many years. It was with Better Homes and Gardens, and then they sold to GMAC, And in that franchise agreement, or I mean, on all of our contracts, all of our listing agreements, all of our contracts, everything, we had to put that we were independently owned and operated, and that Better Homes and Gardens was not liable for any actions by us, and so forth and so on. So that has to be, and that's been a test question, so you might want to take a look at that. Well, that brings us up through another section of our business conduct. I'll pick up on it tomorrow, try to tomorrow or over the weekend sometime. I do want you to know I'm live streaming tonight. So if you're watching a recorded version of this, make sure you know what date this is. This is September the 7th, 2023, okay? If you're watching this on December 1st, 2024, I'm not live streaming tonight. I could, you just never know. You have to subscribe to the channel and click that bell. Somewhere there's a little button you click, and that allows you to get notified each and every time that I go live, okay? But for right now, I just want you to know that we are going to go live tonight, September 7th at 7 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. Hey, don't forget, I have a great product called the Ultimate Real Estate Exam Prep. And it has some great resources to help you pass the real estate exam. Check it out. I think it's a great tool and a great product, and I think it can help you immensely pass the real estate exam. It works in all 50 states, has digital flashcards, over 500 exam questions, and recently seen, or so a bird said that went through the air. Someone asked me the other day, they said, could you get in trouble by saying recently seen? And I always jokingly say, I have no idea if these were seen or not. And I really don't even know the extent of the questions, but I'm just trying to go over topics like unilateral contract or different things that you could be tested on. So it's always good to do that. But hey, thanks for watching the exam. Be sure and subscribe to the channel. Would love for you to do that. Check us out at globalrealestateschool.com. And as always, that's right, you go out and make it a great day. Thank you.